Hi guys, so really kind of shabby introduction, but I'm just preparing for this actual video, eating some grapes, and I'm just pondering over the fact that I feel like this month has just gone on for like forever. I've had like exams and stuff, and like so much has happened. I've had like a trial for a job, which I've officially got now, which I'm really happy about, and I've got like preparations to start another trial for some volunteer work, which I'm excited about. And honestly I feel like the end of this month has just taken so long to get here. I don't know if that's a bad thing or a good thing or whatever, but yeah, I just couldn't help but ponder over it whilst I've been eating my grapes, setting up for this video, and yeah. Anyway, hey guys, sorry for that really odd introduction. I just wanted a little chit chat with you and just express some stuff that was on my mind, I guess. But anyway, today I'm here to give you my May wrap up and my June TBR. I haven't done a TBR in a little while. I think the last one I'd done might have been in like February or something. I don't usually do them. However, spontaneously the other night I just thought, oh my gosh, I'm finishing so many books. I didn't think I'd read this much this month, and honestly it's only been in the last like week and a half that I've read so much. So I just grabbed a load of books because I wasn't feeling inspired to pick anything else up. I didn't really know what I want to read. Grabbed a handful of books, like picked through them and all that, and thought, yeah, let's read these. And strangely enough, the majority of the books that I've been reading all have this blue hue, like this blue theme going on, and it's even travelled into my TBR books, and I don't know how this has happened. Blue's my favourite colour, so maybe it's just a natural thing that I've been driven to this month. I have no idea. I've not been feeling necessarily blue, so I don't know what all that's about. But anyway, let's get into the wrap up portion of this video. So the first thing here I don't actually have to hand. It's a book from my university library, so I've had to like hand that back in, and I finished it anyway, so I didn't need to hold on to it. And that is Fox Control by Sean Frayne. I finished this right at the beginning of the month, so it makes me feel like I read it like the month before, so I'm a little bit like, I swear I've talked about this, but I haven't, I don't think, at least. So just a quick bit of background. I was doing a assignment and I needed some material to draw some references from and everything. That was one of the books, and I decided to read it from cover to cover. Now this one I liked the least out of the 3 books that I did that with. I just didn't enjoy it. Basically it's kind of about the, I guess, proper information with Fox Control and how it's effective and useful if it's done properly. I guess that's the general idea of it. However, I ended up giving it a 1 star. I really didn't like the way it was written. I felt like the author came across as a bit pretentious. I didn't like how he described certain things. It's like he was getting joy out of it, and I don't agree with that. I mean, I knew straight away from the first couple of pages I was not going to like this, but I thought, you know what, I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. I don't usually like DNF books, so I really painstakingly read through the whole thing, and I just hated it. I really did not enjoy it. I actually have a really kind of insulting, well, I mean, I took offence to it, an insulting kind of quote that was in the book. Let me just read it for you. He was basically talking about if the foxes, if I remember correctly, he was making up a scenario that if the foxes, like the badgers, became a protected species, blah blah blah. So that's the kind of context. So anyway, and they became a protected species, which some lunatics would like to see happen. And I was like, excuse me? That's so rude. You do not want to be offending like a potential half of your readers, because not everybody's going to be reading it thinking, yeah, I'm for Fox Control. Like me myself, I'm not necessarily for it. I'm opposed to it in a way, I guess, but I mean, if it's done for specific reasons, I can understand it and I can respect it. However, I went into this obviously just wanting some information to put in my assignment, just to get like a for and against sort of side, so I didn't seem biased in my own opinions. And so I've gone in and read this, and I'm thinking, you're literally insulting someone that doesn't agree with you, but thought, you know what, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt and respectfully read your work. And now I've come out of this being like smacked in the face pretty much. I'm like, what was the point? Why did I even bother? Like, I just felt really irritated by the whole thing. I mean, I guess the good thing about not DNFing it is the fact that I can truly say, yes, I read the whole thing and I detest it. Nothing can change my mind about this. So yeah, sorry to start on a negative note, but I really did not like that book. Let's move on. Another one, unfortunately, I don't have here. It's because it was an e-arc and I received it through NetGalley. So thank you very much to Little Firm Publishers, and obviously for NetGalley for bringing up this service, I suppose. And that is called Land on Fire by Gary Ferguson. So this was another kind of book that I feel like was interesting and almost connected in some way to my degree, but kind of not. It's a nature book, which obviously links to what I'm doing. I'm doing animal management and stuff like that, and this one, however, centres on the wildfires, how they begin and stuff like that over in America, in certain areas in America, and it almost goes in to explain how, yes, wildfires are terrible, but they actually do some positive things to the landscape, and if they're controlled and looked after in a certain way, and that they could be quite beneficial to new species of like plants and stuff being able to rise up and grow, and have a little bit of advantage over that, and then giving new nutrients to different species of animals and stuff like that. So it was really interesting that it went in that direction. I was expecting to see all this devastation, like tons of deaths from the fires and everything, and yes, the author did go in to speak a bit about that, but he was saying as well, you know, it's equally good as it is, you know, dreadful. I mean, it does do some devastating things. I think I'm getting a cold, but you know, here's what it is, let's talk about it, basically, which was really interesting. It was split into a couple of different segments. I can't remember what they were, but it made it like nicely proportioned into each, like, I won't call them chapters because they're not chapters, but they're just kind of categories, I guess. So it was nice to kind of have topic based information that made sense for the category it was in, if that makes sense. So anyway, you're probably wondering what I rated it. So I actually gave this a 4 stars. I really did enjoy it. I will admit it took me ages to read it, and I thought I wasn't going to get it finished before it expired. Where it's got pictures and stuff like that, I couldn't actually download it on my Kindle, so I had to read it on my computer, which is far more uncomfortable, and also I'm not always on my computer, so I don't always have an opportunity to read it. So it literally got to like, I had 1 day left on the expiration date, and I had about 100, I think I had about half the book left, and I think the book's about 200 and something pages, so I had about, you know, half of that. And I thought, oh no, I'm not going to read it, I'm going to have to try and message the publishers, see if they can extend it in some way. I don't even know how they do that. Didn't end up doing that in the end because I managed to finish it, and I really did enjoy it. Also, the pictures that were used were stunning. I mean, they weren't the most, it's difficult because they were beautiful, but obviously you're seeing all these fires in the forest, you're seeing all these trees cut down, the impact it has on homes and people's lives, but just the way they were shot just showed such a scary thing happening in such a beautiful way. Like, it is quite pretty to look at. Come on, like, you can't look at the fire and think that's not beautiful. I mean, it's terrible, of course, of what it's doing, but it is very beautiful to look at. At least I think so. Maybe I'm just a bit of a weirdo, sort of pyromaniac or something, I don't know. I felt like I actually learned a lot in this book. I learned some different kind of terminology. I learned some interesting facts about wildfires and stuff like that. Obviously, because it's kind of focusing on wildfires in America, I couldn't really relate to some of the areas they were talking about, so I couldn't really experience the expansive damage that it would have done to that such area, because I can't kind of compare that to something near me, which thankfully I'm happy for. I don't want wildfires near me, but do you know what I mean? Like, I couldn't connect to it on that level just because I wasn't familiar with like the environment they were talking about. So I think that was one of the kind of hindrances that I had in terms of enjoying the whole thing, but that's really nobody's fault. That's just, you know, different locations, different kind of lifestyles. I can't really experience that to the fullest, which is understandable. But yeah, I do go into a little bit more on my Goodreads review, so if you do want to check that out, feel free. But yeah, let's just go on to the next book, because I feel like I've been talking about this for ages. The next, I've actually got these books to show you. I read Children of Eden by Joey Graceffa. He is a YouTuber, if you don't know about him. I haven't watched his channel in years. Honestly, I think I got this last year for Christmas or a birthday or something. I saw the cover and I thought that is absolutely stunning. Didn't even really acknowledge the name. I read the blurb and everything. I was like, this sounds really good. And then it clicked. I was like, oh, it's YouTuber, it's Joey. I do like him. I think he's quite charismatic. I won't go too much into this just because I want to do kind of like a little series on this channel where I review YouTuber books together. Like, maybe review 2 or 3 YouTuber books in like one video or whatever. I don't know how I'll split them up. I think I'll just do whatever books I have available, I'll review them together. They're not necessarily going to be linked or whatever in some way. I don't know, I just think it'll be interesting just so you can see, are they really good at what they do or whatever. I mean, this one is written with somebody else, so I like that he was quite straight up and said, you know, this isn't his own work. It's written with someone called Laura L. Sullivan. So it's quite straight up, you know, he had help, which is good, and it was a really good book. I mean, I ended up giving it like a 5 stars, so I really did enjoy it. It's basically like a dystopian sort of sci-fi novel where we've got this kind of restriction where you can't have a second child. To be a second child is basically a death sentence. So we're following Rowan as she goes through her life being a second child, in hiding and everything like that, just trying to have some sort of life in a world where she is against the law, pretty much. It's a really interesting book. I won't go too much into it, but basically Earth has been destroyed by, you know, man-made destruction, I guess, and this group of humans made this civilization called Eden, where they live under sort of like a dome. I know it's not the most unique thing in the world, but it is interesting, and I think I will go into more detail in a review later on down the road once I've read another YouTuber book and I can read them together. Maybe I can do like a comparison sort of thing in terms of writing style if the stories aren't at all similar. But I do have another book. I've got Username Regenerated by Joe Sugg. Oh, they've got similar names. I've read the first book already, so that could be, I guess, technically part 1 of my little YouTuber series. But that's also a sci-fi thing in a way, so maybe I can do a little bit of a comparison with that. Anyway, I'm just sprouting ideas. Very good book. Please stay tuned to a review coming sometime soon. Another book I won't gush too much about is Into the Water by Paula Hawkins. This is her second novel, I do believe. Now, I do want to do a full review for this as well, so hence me not speaking too much about it. I gave this a 4.5 stars and I really did enjoy it. So I guess you'd call it a murder mystery in a sense, because it's about this woman called Nell Abbott who tried to contact her sister. Her and her sister have been, I guess, kind of estranged for so many years, and sister doesn't answer the phone. Next thing she knows, Nell is dead. It's surrounding a cliff and this thing called the Drowning Pool. So as well as being, I guess, a murder mystery in a sense, a crime novel, it's got like this magical feel to it, like there's some mystery in terms of like an otherworldly sense surrounding it. I mean, I've always felt like it was like a magical realism novel, but it's not. I don't want to sell it as that. It's really difficult to describe, but I definitely felt like it had some eerie, whispery kind of like magical feel to it. Wouldn't say it's like a thriller, like a straight up thriller like The Girl in the Train was, but this was beautiful in its own sense. So yeah, I will be doing a review on this. So again, stay tuned for more thoughts on that later. And then the last book I read, which it's the, what is it, the 30th today I think, and I read this last night. I could have done one sitting, but for some reason I started it late the night before. I only read like a couple of pages, then went to bed, and then I finished it during the day, like on and off I was reading it. And anyway, that is The Little Prince by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. I don't know how to pronounce that, sorry. I have finally got around to read this. I haven't read it before until now. This is my first time reading it, but a lot of people will know what it's about. Basically, it's about an aviator who crash lands in the African desert, and he's trying to fix his plane so he can get home and everything, and he meets the Little Prince, which is from another planet. I don't think alien is ever used to describe the Little Prince. I think he's like a little human, but he's alien in the sense that he's not from this earth, so I guess, yeah, he's an alien in a way. And he's basically on Earth just looking for a friend to learn things and, you know, to grow as a person. And he's just the cutest little thing. This book was amazing. I gave it a 4 stars just because I had a few issues with it, and I always find it difficult to give a full 5 stars to a children's book. Doesn't mean it's not amazing, it's just a kind of, I have a different view on a children's book when compared to an adult, young adult sort of novel. I think the only book I've given a full 5 stars, like when I've really understood my reviews and everything, was To Pax by Sarah Pennypacker. That was amazing, if I remember correctly. And I do actually get some vibes from this in here, because there is like a little conversation with a fox. I love just fox and children in a story, just makes my heart melt. It's so cute. Foxes, children, animals, children, just adorable. Anyway, my actual review for this, I felt like this had so many amazing morals and lessons, but I will admit I felt like they came across quite harshly when the Little Prince was, you know, speaking his truth and everything. I just felt like, oh gosh, calm down a little bit. I know you're learning stuff and you're teaching us stuff, but that's a bit like harsh how you're saying it, you know. He almost made me feel a little bit unsettled because he's so young, yet he's coming out with all these wise quotes and he's really intelligent words, and it's like, oh my gosh, you know so much for a child. The author almost had like this separation of children no more than adults, which I can totally understand. They just have this innocence that just makes them comprehend things like, this is it, you know, listen. And adults just seem to have to overcomplicate things so much. So yeah, I really appreciated that little kind of lesson in itself, I suppose. This was great, honestly. I think you should read my review as well, because I talk about it a bit better. Right now my throat's going a bit funny and I'm thirsty and hungry, so I don't feel like I can give it the justice it deserves. So please go ahead and check out my Goodreads review. But I really did enjoy this, and I totally recommend it. I thought it was amazing. Okay, oh, pins and needles in my feet. Right, so now that that's done, I'm going to go through my TBR. I'm not going to talk too much about this stuff, but yeah, it's just a very loose, casual TBR. I might not read any of these books, I might read all of them. I don't know, it just depends how I feel during the next month, you know. So I have 4 books here. The first one I'm already currently reading, I'm only a couple of pages in, and that is A Confusion of Princes by Garth Nix. I do believe this is a standalone book. I think it's another sci-fi. So that'll be interesting. The thing is though, I read his short story collection, I think in April or something, and that had a sci-fi section in it, and I think one of the stories is based off of this by the sounds of some of like the terminology and everything. And I didn't really enjoy his sci-fi that much, and so far this is a little bit slow going. There's just kind of too much description in a way. I don't know if I'm just going to suddenly enjoy this or what, but yeah, I prefer his like straight up fantasy stuff anyway. So this is basically about, what even is it about? Let me read the back to you. I'm losing it now. I'm slowly like slipping into like, why am I doing this sort of thing? I just want to eat and drink. Oh, this video is getting very long. Anyway, there are 3 deaths of Prince Khemri. Told in his own words, the story follows him as he trains to become a prince of the empire, an enhanced human being, faster, stronger and smarter than any ordinary person. Which is just as well, because no sooner has Prince Khemri graduated than he learns the terrible truth behind the empire. There are 10 million princes and all of them want each other dead. So yeah, I got this in a charity shop a little while ago, and it turns out it's actually like an ARC book, so like a advanced reader's copy. But yeah, cool. It looks really pretty as well. So hopefully I end up enjoying that. I'll obviously let you guys know on like online and stuff. And then here, I'm pretty sure these are part of the same series. I don't know. I swear there's a 3rd one as well. Hold on, I'm just checking something. So I don't know if I'll actually be able to read these together, because I'm pretty sure these are like in a certain order or something. I don't know, I'll have to look online. But I have The Rats by James Herbert. I do think this is the first one. Oh, and it's got the foreword by Neil Gaiman. That's amazing. This is like a special edition. It's a special 40th anniversary edition of the classic best-selling novel that launched James Herbert's career. How beautiful is that? So yeah, this one says, it was only when the bones of the first devoured victims were discovered that the true nature and power of these swarming black creatures with their razor-sharp teeth and taste for human blood began to be realised by a panic-stricken city. For millions of years, man and rat had been natural enemies, but now for the first time, suddenly, shockingly, horribly, the balance of power has shifted. I love things like this, like just strange, simple creatures turning evil and overwhelming another population sort of stuff. That sounds interesting to me, so I hope I enjoy that. And then here I have Fluke by James Herbert. I don't know if these are like together or not. You know what? I'm just going to check, because I don't want to end up reading that afterwards or whatever and they're in the wrong order or they're not at all together. Let me see. Okay, so it looks like these two are like different series. In the Rat series they have The Rats and then Lair and then Domain, and they also have The City, which is a graphic novel. And then let's see what the Fluke's about. Let's see if that's part of a series or anything like that. Ideally I don't want to start too many series, especially by the same author, because I think that'll get me a bit confused. Oh, it looks like this one's a standalone, so I could just read this as it is. Do you know, it reminds me of the drowning dog portrait painting thing. Anyway, so yeah, okay, I'll tell you what this one is about then. He was a stringy mongrel wandering the streets of the city, driven by a ravenous hunger and hunting a quarry he could not define. But he was something more. Somewhere in the depths of his consciousness was a memory clawing its way to the surface, tormenting him, refusing to let him rest. The memory of what he had once been. A man. Interesting. I have a feeling I'm going to enjoy this author. It's been a long time coming and I've heard quite a bit, especially about the Rat series. So yeah, hopefully I enjoy those. And the last book I've got here that I might get to in June is Rebel of the Sands by Alwyn Hamilton. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. This had a lot of buzz a couple of years ago when it came out. I bought it maybe a year or so after it was released. I'm not too sure. Can't remember what it's about. I think it's like a desert kind of gun fantasy thing. Let me read you what it's about. I'm sure everybody has heard about this, or quite a lot of people, but just in case you haven't. Dustwalk is an unforgiving dead-end town. It's not the place to be poor or orphaned or female, and yet Amani Al-Hiza must call it home. Amani wants to escape and see the world she's heard about in campfire stories. Then a foreigner with no name turns up, and with him she has the chance to run. The desert plains are full of dangerous magic. The Sultan's army is on the rise, and Amani is soon caught at the heart of a fearless rebellion. Hope I enjoy that. It's not something I'd usually pick up, but it got such good ratings and stuff like that I have heard. So I thought I might as well give it a go. And it's what a beautiful cover, really pretty. Anyway, so I've slightly declined as this video has gone on. I hope you've enjoyed it though. Hopefully my reviews were interesting enough. Hopefully the picks that I've decided to possibly read soon is exciting enough. Let me know if you've read any of these books and what you thought. But for now, I'll speak to you in another video soon. Bye. Gotta check there's no grapes in the old Nashers.